So today we'll be starting Sankhya Yoga. The name has a great implication of its own that I'll be telling you all very soon. But before that, uh, let us have a quick reminder. Like in the chapter 1, we left Arjuna in the last verse of the first chapter, sunk in the chariot, completely depressed. The language used in the last verse is very, very expressive of that situation. The chapter itself is called Arjuna's Vishada Yoga, that is Arjun's grief or depression. In the last sloka, in the concluding sloka of chapter 1, Sanjay has, in its commentary, had said, Eva Mukta Arjuna Sankhya Rathavopavasa. That quite depressed, having said so in the midst of the battlefield, Arjuna sat down in the chariot. Rather, he sank into the chariot. Now, generally, when a Kshatriya fight, they stand up. That was the custom. Standing up and fighting and sitting down means there is no fighting. Throwing arrow his bow and so that is completely negation of the purpose for which he had come there. Shoka Samavigna Manasa. That is the sloka that we have seen in the last verse. With the mind immersed in shoka, grief or dejection. That was the state of Arjuna where he concluded our chapter 1. Now, as we begin in chapter 2, a new term comes Sankhya. What is Sankhya? Sankhya is one of the six uh, darshanas, school of philosophies of ancient India. There are total 9 schools of philosophy. The Astik Darshan. Astik Darshan means that atheist philosophy that has 6 schools, and that non-believer of God, the concept of Ishwara, what Ved refers as Ajivaka Dharma, that has 3 schools. One is Bauddha, another is Jaina, and the third one is Lokayata or Charvak. So while we start to analyze the nomenclature of the second chapter, before that let's come back to the verse. Now, how did Sri Krishna react to the state of Arjuna's mind? You must be remembering one thing from the very beginning of our Gita discourses. We discussed this that chapter 1 is a problem statement on which Lord answers. Chapter 2 is the syllabus, is the agenda, as a brief outline that Lord Sri Krishna tells us that these are the summary of my uh, discourses that I will be keeping on unfolding in the next chapters. So, if I very crudely categorize, chapter 1 is my problem statement. Chapter 2 is a brief outline that what will be the discourse. And there are several ways of that discourses, of that learning, which are referred as yogas. Here, yoga doesn't mean any bodily activities. Here, yoga means the synthesis, analytical synthesis, yoga. And that can be of several, that can have several avenues. Jnana yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, uh, raja yoga. So we'll be going through all of them one by one. And at the very end, in the chapter 18, Lord again tells Arjuna that now I'll be telling you the summary. Apparently, there were many contradictory verses in Gita that scholars have, for several decades and years, have interpreted in their own style. Now, the chapter 18 can be called as a summary, and the most importantly, while closing his discourse of Gita discourse, Sri Krishna categorically tells Arjuna, "Ye yathasi tatkuru." My boy, I have given you all the avenues. I have shown you all the avenues. I have given you all the knowledge. Now it is up to you that what you can get out of it and how you are going to implement it. Ye yathasi tatkuru. I have told you. Now it is up to you. I cannot do your job. I simply cannot do your job. You are the victim. You are the one who is in troubled situation both mentally and as a result physically. You are the one who are the facing problem, who is facing the problem. And so you are the one who needs to get out of this problem. I am just mentoring you, nothing else. So now when Arjun sprang down on his chariot, how did Sri Krishna react to this state? And the various arguments Arjuna gave for wanting to run away from the field of battle. And apparently some of the arguments appeal to us also. He doesn't want to fight. He wants to preach us non-violence. All over the world today, nobody likes war. None of us. So in different parts of the world, while reading Gita, this question keeps up coming. Arjuna seems to be better than Sri Krishna, right? He's a king, but he wants to have peace. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to war. While Sri Krishna is edging him on the way, pushing him towards war. Is that acceptable? How can we accept this situation? Now I said that is correct. Arjuna is speaking of peace, non-violence, compassion, and Sri Krishna is asking Arjuna to give up those values and fight. But what does it mean? What is the state of Arjuna's mind? Is there any virtue in Arjuna's state of mind? Is the virtue weakness? Is the virtue nervous breakdown? We have to ask this question. Virtue is strong. It is made up of stern stuff in the language of Shakespeare. That stern stuff you do not find in Arjuna in this condition. He is only invoking those wonderful ideas of love, compassion, non-violence, etc. But his own condition was very pitiable. What you call these days a psychic breakdown, a nervous breakdown. So his mentor looked at him and, as the book says, with a smile, and began to speak to him how to restore this man to his own true state of mind. That is now the challenge for the mentor. He was not like this, but the state of depression, this weakness, has come upon him just now, and he needs to be get out of that. So virtue must be made of sterner stuff, like I said, and character must be made of sterner stuff as well. Non-violence must also be made of sterner stuff. Even Gandhiji would say, I don't like the non-violence of the coward. Non-violence of the brave alone is non-violence. If you go down to the page of history, after that famous Chaudhary incident, there is in a famous letter Gandhiji told these lines which I have just quoted. I don't like the non-violence of the coward. Non-violence of the brave alone is non-violence. And Sri Krishna now looked at Arjuna and in two famous verses debunked him. Showed to Arjuna that whatever he thought was right apparently might be right, but perennially was not right. One cannot judge oneself rightly with a sick, grief-stricken mind. There's an old saying, don't take a decision when you are either very happy, joyous, or very dejected mind. A grief-stricken mind loses discrimination. One must be calm and steady, and then only one will understand the situation. And so the part of second chapter is very vital in the study of Gita. Basically, Mahamanya Tilak in his Gita Rahasya says that second chapter is the most vital synopsis for entire Gita. The Gita tells us it is very easy to run away, but that doesn't lead you to any solution. See, the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is perhaps this is the only Shastra or sermon that we tell in history of religion that has been preached on the battlefield, not on a mountain, not on a riverside, away from all this hustle bustle of our daily life. It says that religion is an integral part of your daily life and it helps to win your war if you are rightly philosophically motivated and spiritually motivated. It's very easy to shut down the eyes, keep yourself away from the world, from the problem that we are facing. We can produce various arguments, like many of us do this. Suppose I have a problem at home and I simply run away to Benares or Kashi. Some people then say of him, "You are wonderful, such a great monk, so full of renunciation." But Sri Krishna says, don't do it. If you are weakling, you are not doing your own duty. As of now, you might be escaping from all this, but at a certain point, with the escapist mind, you are bound to come back to the problem once again. There is a spirit of manliness in human beings, and that should not be forgotten. Like our Upanishad says, "Uttishthate Jagrata, Prapyavara Nivodata." So all these various life situations comes to us. And Sri Krishna, and even later today, Swami Vivekananda asked us to face up those problems, bring up new energies from the within, and in this way a positive attitude develops in us. Now Sanjay begins the second chapter with the statements Tam tatha kripaya bishtam asrupurna kulekshanam Vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha Madhusudana. So Madhusudana uvacha, he said that when Sri Krishna said idam vakyam, this utterance, Sri Krishna made a powerful statement. And he said to whom? To Arjuna. Which Arjuna? Vishidantam, deeply grieving. Kripaya Vishtam, overwhelmed with pity, kripa. Arjuna is in pitiable condition, right? And further, another adjective, Asrupurna Kulakshana. Tears are streaming from the eyes of Arjuna. And there is no signs of stability or courage or strength. What happened to that mighty fellow now? To that kind of Arjuna, Sri Krishna is speaking idam vakyam, that very word. You can see the Arjuna's mind. Highly pathological, not healthy. A healthy mind won't be like that. This is what we have to learn first. Weeping and wailing on facing some problem is not a healthy condition that Gita teaches us here. Certainly, if the problem are too much beyond our control, then we shall have to weep and wail. We can get a momentary relief, but if you can, you must try to face up to these problems. These are the occasions when you have to rise. When you cannot face a problem, you cannot choose to go away. Like Swami Vivekananda in one of the letters says that I shall either fight the problem or take recourse to fight. There is no harm in flying away. Take a break, provided you have done your best to face it up. But that must be guided by a positive attitude to spring back. Sri Krishna here is going to convey this attitude through his learning to Arjuna. And then in this context, he will be expounding a wonderful philosophy of life for all people that he calls here as Sankhya Yoga. Now the teaching of Sri Bhagavan starts. Lord Krishna starts. So the next two verses is the opening of this discourse. Sri Krishna, in a very like a good mentor, is now poking Arjuna's mind, reprimanding literally in front of everyone. Kutastha kamalami idang vishame samupustatam. Anadi yustam sargakritim kara Arjuna. So I cannot understand Arjuna from where this kutastha, kuta means where from, to you this kasmalam, this very low attitude has incurred you, has from where I cannot understand Arjuna, this kind of low level of thinkings Kashmala in Sanskrit significance, that is all bad. Vishama Samupastita. In this most difficult situation, this is the Samupastitam. You have brought up this kind of argument and developed this unmanly attitude. In the midst of the two armies, the battle is about to begin, and this is the battle for which you have longed for last 13 years. And there is a beauty of Mahabharata that just before this Kurukshetra Yuddha starts, in Virat Parva there is an incident where all of you must be knowing this, that Kauravas attacked Matsyadesh while Lord Virat is a king, and his son, his juvenile son Uttara. Uttar goes to fight as Arjun is charioteer in his Brihanala disguise, Agyatavas disguise. And there Arjun tells him, see, I am that Arjuna, and you being a Kshatriya, you are not supposed to fly from the field. You cannot show your face to other Kshatriyas if you go today, if you go away today. At that time, Arjuna was the mentor to Uttar, and that very person now needs a mentor. What he preached few days back, he has forgotten. He is not applying them to his own self. In the midst of this two armies, this battle is about to begin, and at this moment you say, no, I cannot. I am going away. I am having a nervous breakdown. I am going to Rishikesh. I am renouncing. I need peace. This is called Anarya wisdom. Arya here means a noble-minded person. Aryati jat sa Arya. Aryati means who can think. A noble-minded person is Arya. And a person having an infected, not noble mind is Anarya. Anarya Yustam, a noble-minded person will never take such attitude. You are not thinking in a line a noble-minded person should have thought in this situation of yours. Here, Arya is not a race. Arya means noble-minded person. Many of this Gita Vashya, this is a very badly interpreted that this is the case of racism. Where Krishna says that we are Aryas, don't think of the Shudras like Anaryas. This is not the case. This is not Hitler's Aryan superiority theory. This is here the Buddhadev also, Lord Buddha spoke of his teachings as Arya Satyani. So Arya means noble. The noble is the word for Arya here. The beauty and the difficulty with this language of Sanskrit is a word can give you wrong meaning, half meaning, and right meaning. It depends on the mentor who is helping you to teach, to learn all these things. So this is a note of this signature of reprimandation of a mentor to his student. That what the hell with you, man? I told you so many things. You were such a great fighter. You were such a great student. And on the D-Day, when you were supposed to fight for a noble cause, you were saying, I cannot. My hands are trembling. Sidanti mame gatrani mukhanche parishushati. Gandibam sangshrate hasatvak chaiva paridajyati. Now this happens with us also, right? While presenting in front of your boss, a student while writing answer script in the examination hall, our first stage fear. Think of all these things. We all become Arjuna in certain situations. We prepare for the whole year, and in the engineering exam, in the doctorate exam, in the most vital exam of our lives, we get confused. We come under a severe nervous breakdown, and all our tenacities, all our tenacious efforts, that goes to vain. Just because of our mind, just because of our anarya attitude. So the mentor scolds him, literally gives him this kind of shock treatment. That what happens to you? This verse gives a negative approach, and just like a good approach, post that shock value given to Arjuna, being ruder to him, now he adopts a softer approach. Sri Krishna is telling in the next verse, क्लैप्यमाश्मगमं पार्थ नैतत्तद्योपत् क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं तत्त्वपडन्त क्लैप्यमाश्मगमः पार्थ नैतत् तद्वियुपत् क्षुद्र हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्तो त्यक्तोभित्स्य परन्तप. You have to deject it. This is a very powerful verse. Klaibam mashmang gamaparti. Here ma means na. No, don't. Klaibya means chicken-heartedness, weakness, absolutely no strength, no manliness in it. Masmah gamapartha. Don't fall a prey. Don't let this virtue be allowed to take over on your right virtues. नैतत तज्जुपते. This doesn't befit you. शोभा नहीं देता है. This doesn't befit you. You are so heroic, you are so noble, you are so great. This behavior doesn't befit you. So this is something, a positive motivation, right? Like in Chak De India, we all remember, right, that the 70 minutes, that famous lecture of Shah Rukh Khan. Just think Sri Krishna in that. This will bring the best out of a person. So this approach of Naita Pajjugal doesn't befit you, can be an educational maxim for our parents or teachers with respect to children, and generally also for a man or woman who can deal with each other. This behavior doesn't befit you. So this is the eternal concept of mentoring. First a shock treatment, and then coming back to the softer approach. So now Arjuna is now difficulties in Arjuna. Arjuna starts understanding that yes, there is something wrong with me. He has been reminded of his capacity. That you can see, in a great article of Swami Vivekananda, he says that the Tripundaka of Lord realizes three things within us: I want, I won't, I will. I can do this. Tell yourself again and again, I can do this. This is well within my capacity. But the moment you cannot control yourself, I won't part, if you cannot perform, then you fall prey to the virtue of an animal. No more you remain as a human being. So thinking that I can and I will and I won't, this is called a thinking like a human being, not thinking like an animal. And that is the only difference. Human being, even being an animal, has overshadowed all other species of animals. And now Arjuna is in mood. The tonic has acted. He understands, yes, this is well within my capacity, but he is still confused. He is telling Sri Krishna in a calm, collected mood and more coherently. Now he is in a query mood. Katham Bhishma Maham Syankha Dronancha Madhusudana Ishuvi Pradasyami Pujaraho Arisudana. You tell me, boss, how can I battle, shoot arrows at men like Bhishma and Drona? They are worthy to be worshipped by me. Now, coherent language, these are coming. Swankhe here means the word. So, like this notice started, that Sankhya word has several meanings. Where, how can I ishuvi pratidotsyami, fight with my sharp arrows against men like Bhishma and Drona? They are pujarho, means people who deserve to be worshipped. They are elders. And he justifies Kudun Hatyan hi Mahanubha Sriyo Bhuktum Vikshami Pahiloki. It's better to go for a begging rather than killing my own guru. Tatvartha Kamastum Guruni Heva, Bhunjya Bhogan Rudhira Pradigdhan. It's better to beg, seek alms from people than killing my own Guru. I don't want to have this bhoga, enjoyment, this wealth, this grandeur, Rudhira Pradigdhan, with the blood in my hands. I don't want this. No, this is a very kind of a philosophical challenge that Arjuna has put us all into. What ought to do and what needs to be. What we need to do and what we ought to do. In Upanishad, there is a famous dialects in Yagyavalkya and Maitri's conversation in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The difference between Shreya and Priya. What you want to do and what needs to be done. At this various crossroad that our scripture calls as Swadharma, that can only be achieved by Swadhyaya, your own realization. Nobody can teach you. Ask yourself, ask your coach, shall I do it? Is it needs to be done? Am I allowed to do this? This is Shreya. And the other part is Preya. I'm a diabetic. There's a beautiful dishes in front of me, sweet dishes. So Preya is the sweet dish, and the Shreya is not to look at this. And between these two comes Indriya, your sense organs. Now, who controls your sense organs? Your buddhi, your bodhi. Power of your understanding how to convert the powers of Indriya is your buddhi. And behind buddhi is our chitta. Chitta is a like a pot filled up with water. And when external waves go over it, there are little waves get generated. Right. On the face of a calm pond, when the wind passes over it, when storm comes, there are big waves. Upanishad calls those are vrittis. Gita says pacify those vrittis with nivrittis. That where between vrittis and nivrittis is the synopsis of Gita, synopsis of Advaita Vedanta. And who can win this battle? One who has buddhi. That governs the chitta. And chitta instructs that Indriya go for Shreya, not for Priya. This is the synopsis of Gita teaching.